Ohio State, Michigan. Oh, are we fired up for that matchup or what, man? The rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan is called The Game for a reason. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Ohio State going up against Michigan, as this is for all the marbles on the table. The winner of this game will end up going to the Big Ten championship game, while the loser of this game may end up missing out on the college football playoff. Michigan will be without Jim Harbaugh again, as this will be the 6th game missed for him due to separate suspensions happening in the same season. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Will Ohio State finally beat Michigan for the first time since 2019? I have a direct answer to this. Hell no. I don't have Ohio State beating Michigan, even though I like Ohio State a lot. I have that happening because even though I got Ohio State making the college football playoff this year, they are not a better football team than Michigan. Yeah, you guys can cry about how Michigan cheats and how they rely on hand signals, or they might be relying on recruiting violations. Who the heck cares? At the end of the day, who plays the best football? Michigan. How does Michigan win football games? They don't win football games because they're smarter than everybody else. They win football games because they are more physical than every single opponent that they have faced this year. And Michigan is probably the toughest team in the country, minus Georgia, but that's because Georgia is really damn good. When you watch Michigan play football, they are as physical as any team at the line of scrimmage. They can run the football, they can throw the football, they can get after the passer, they can stop the run. Offense, defense, special teams, you name it, they are the tougher team on all 3 phases of the game. When you look at Michigan, they are the tougher team. When you compare them to Ohio State, who wants it more? I believe Michigan is going to want it more than Ohio State. I know a lot of people might think, oh, Ohio State, they typically tend to own Michigan, don't you think? Well, that's actually not been the case at all. Michigan has actually owned Ohio State ever since Jim Harbaugh turned around the program in 2021. I know that he was also there during the mid-2010s, but 2021 was basically the new era of Michigan football. And ever since the new era of Michigan football started, Michigan has been an unstoppable program on a consistent basis. There's a reason for that. It's not because they cheated. It's because they're a really good football team. They got Blake Corum. They got Donovan Edwards this year. They got the 2 running backs that are going to slam it down your throat. Yeah, they got an interim coach in there, but that interim coach loves to run the football a lot. He is all about running the football, and he is under the belief that we are going to run the football until you prove to us that you can stop the run, because that's how good Michigan has been running the football this year. They can run it downhill. They can run it sideways. They can run it laterally. They can run it east and west. They can run it north and south. It really doesn't matter how they can run the football, because however they want to run the football, that's the way how they're going to run it. And whatever you can do to stop it, well, teams haven't found a way to stop it this year. Cheating or no cheating, who really cares in that instance? Because Michigan has been a down the hill in your throat kind of team. They are going to be more physical than you. They're going to make everything a street fight, and every time they're in a street fight, they're always going to win. Not only are they winning these games, they are dominating these games. Outside of that one game against Maryland, they have been able to just dominate every single opponent. The closest win that Michigan has had all year is 7 points. Typically, when a team wins by 7 points, you feel pretty good about that. But for Michigan, if they only win by 7 points, people are freaking out and say, oh my God, what's wrong with Michigan this year? Oh, they're just having an off year. Maybe it's time to write off Michigan, because that's how dominant Michigan has been all year long. They're winning games by 20 plus points. Their games are typically over by halftime or the third quarter. Even though I do think that they are playing under a weak schedule, hey, they're beating up the bad teams that they're supposed to. And when they play against a good team, they're going to go ahead and beat you down too. I believe that Michigan's defense is better than Ohio State's offense. It's not like Ohio State's offense has been great this year. Yeah, they got a decent quarterback in Kyle McCord, but it's going to take a lot more than being decent in order to beat Michigan this year. Kyle McCord is going to have to play like Joe Burrow for LSU in order to beat Michigan, because their defense is just phenomenal. Michigan has a defense that can just get after the passer like there's no tomorrow. They also got guys in the secondary that can intercept the ball very easily. And then you look at the Ohio State receivers. Obviously, they got Marvin Harrison Jr. They got that Ibuka guy. He's a pretty good number 2 receiver for Ohio State. And they got Carnell Tate. I know that the receivers are good, but if they can lock down Marvin Harrison Jr., if they can just slow him down a little bit, that's going to be problematic for Ohio State, because they don't really have a consistent number 1 guy to rely on outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. I know that Ohio State also doesn't really use the tight end game as well, so part of their field is going to be limited as well. And I know that they got decent running backs, but their running backs are not going to be life changers for Ohio State. There's a reason why Michigan is the tougher team, and especially in cold weather conditions in Michigan, which is what the weather's going to be this Saturday, I expect this this team to be all about running the football. If Michigan just follows the game plan that they have done from the beginning of the season to where they're at right now, then Michigan is going to win this game. I'm not going to say that this is going to be a massive blowout, but I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. I think it's going to be a 7-point game. It's going to be a one-score game. And ultimately, I think the difference is going to be turnovers. Who's going to turn over the ball more? And in that situation, I think Ohio State is going to turn over the ball more than Michigan because of the fact that Michigan is going to be more reliant on running the football. And when you run the football, you're taking away chances for the opposing defense to get interceptions. I know that JJ McCarthy is efficient with the football, but I'm not going to act like JJ McCarthy is inhuman and he never throws interceptions, because unless you're Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that, everybody throws interceptions at some point. I know that McCarthy has had a really good year. It's also easy to have a good year when you're up by a lot of points every single game, basically, and you're just turning your back to hand the football off to the running backs. But when he has been asked to deliver, that's exactly what he has done. JJ McCarthy has been a pretty good game manager this year. One could say that even if he wasn't a game manager, he would still be a game changer. He's just simply not asked to do that at Michigan because they got the two running backs in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. They also got good receivers as well. I know they don't use the receivers a whole lot, but when they use them, they're pretty effective. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Samaje Morgan, Tyler Morris, they got a lot of receivers that they can go ahead and use, even though they really only use Roman Wilson. But hey, when you can run the football the way Michigan is running the football, who the heck cares? Because when you can hand off the football to two different kind of running backs, and when opposing defenses know that they're going to run the football and they still can't stop it, you're just going to keep running the football until you just wear out those guys or they prove that you can stop the run. And that's the thing with Michigan. They can beat you in so many different ways. The only way you can beat Michigan this year is if you build up a super team on defense like Georgia. But they're not playing Georgia in the regular season. They're probably not going to play Georgia until the college football playoff at the earliest. The fact of the matter is Michigan is the tougher team when you compare them to Ohio State. And in those rivalry games, that's what matters. Offense matters to an extent, but what really matters at the end of the day is who's tougher, who's going to give more effort, who's going to bring in a more physical attitude. When you look at all those check boxes that I just put out there, Michigan is going to be more likely to fill out those check boxes when you compare them to Ohio State. And also, don't forget the fact that Michigan is going to be having a good chip on their shoulder to prove their haters wrong, because there's been a lot of haters lately saying that, oh, if Michigan didn't cheat, they would be mediocre in college football. You don't think Michigan is taking that criticism personally? You don't think they're going to go out there and try to prove their haters wrong? And I know Ohio State's got their critics as well. I know that people in Ohio State are wanting to beat Michigan really badly, but Ohio State doesn't have the mental toughness that Michigan does. I'm not saying that Ohio State isn't tough. I believe they're plenty tough, but Michigan is a different level kind of tough. When you talk about toughest teams in the nation, at least mentally and physically speaking, Michigan has to be at the top of the list, and I think that mental toughness is going to be the difference in this game. That's why I got Michigan scoring 31 points while I got Ohio State scoring 24 points. It's going to be a bloodbath all the way around. It's going to be a great football game to watch for the pure college football fans. It's going to be a great rivalry. It's going to come down to the wire. I don't think that game's going to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be a back and forth game. But I think Michigan is going to have the lead for most of the game, and if they can have the lead for most of the game, that means that they're going to be using ball control, such as time possession and handing the ball off a whole bunch. They're not going to ask JJ McCarthy to throw more than 20 times if necessary. You're just going to keep handing the ball off to Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards until the defense wears out. And if Michigan does that, they'll win the game, because that's going to put pressure on Kyle McCord, and he's not great when he has to play from behind. He's fine when he's ahead, but when he has to play from behind, that's when he makes mistakes. I got the final score being Ohio State 24, Michigan 31. That's what I see happening. So that's why Ohio State will not end up beating Michigan, as Michigan will win their third straight matchup against Ohio State. In fact, Michigan will beat Ohio State by the score of 31-24, as their running game will prove to be too dominant for Ohio State to deal with. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.